Look at this. This is brilliant. The nginx deployment is there. 73 seconds. It means it went to GitHub and it did deploy. Hey folks, I wanted to explore Weave Flux for a very long time, and today was the day, and I also made a recording of it. It's an uncut version of how I first time experienced Weave Flux, so it's going to be with a little hiccups and also with a little surprises. But I hope you will benefit from either from the summary or the little bits along the way how I solve problems. And yeah, let's get started, and I hope you will enjoy this. Alright everyone, today it's gonna be about Weave Flux. Supposedly a pretty cool tool. I'm hearing a lot of good stuff about it, but I didn't use it myself. So this session is going to be about exploration. I'm going to look at the website, then I'm going to try it myself, and then I'm going to think about how I can insert it into my workflow. So let's get started. I already did a Google search about Weave Flux, and I got two websites here. One is the marketing website and the other one is the source code. It's a bit weird saying fluxcd/flux instead of Weaveworks Flux or something like that, but never mind that. Okay, so ship features faster. Who doesn't want that, right? Yeah, so it's about GitOps. GitOps is an interesting thing because I thought I know what GitOps is up till a few months ago, when I realized that what I thought GitOps is, it's not really what GitOps Weaveworks means. Meaning, I thought configuration management, configuration as code is GitOps because I make changes in my configuration, I commit it, and I'm good to go. Everything is in Git, it's GitOps. Brilliant. But Weaveworks actually thinks GitOps is something else. How can I phrase this? Basically, you try to split CD from CI. So yeah, I don't know really, but hopefully this is getting clearer by the time this video ends. So GitOps, Flux is an operator that makes GitOps happen in your cluster. It ensures that the cluster config matches the one in Git and automates your deployments. Yeah, so Weave thinks that you shove all your YAMLs into a single repository in Git, and when you make a commit to that repository, this operator makes sure that your cluster is matching this state. So your CI pipeline is not poking Kubernetes or something at the very last step of your deployment, but instead it's probably just making a commit into Git, and that commit is the up-to-date configuration, the up-to-date YAMLs, and this Flux component is going to deploy it. This is responsible for deployment. The upsides are, yeah, blah blah blah, but basically it could be good to restore complete environments without running any CI jobs, for example, just applying all things that are in this Git repository. But let's not rush this far ahead. So there is this Git repo, which is good. I like Git repos much better than marketing sites. All right, we believe in GitOps. You declaratively describe the entire design state in Git. Fine, that's configuration as code, basically. What can be described can be automated, yeah, that's fine. So this is a system architecture diagram. This is the developer, this is us. We don't do kubectl apply, I get that, don't do that. So we commit here, and pushing a container image. And then what happens then? There is okay, here is an arrow. We push the image. Blah, what's this? All right, I don't get this because I'm a developer. I push here, and there is one forward arrow to the Kubernetes API. Okay, or to Flux CD. Okay. Memcached. Oh my god. Okay. let's just move over. All right. Git and cluster synchronization. I'm happy about that. This is what I thought. Flux is new container images. Okay, so images might trigger things. Integrations with Helm. Oh God. Okay, leaves inside your cluster. Control plane. Who is using Flux? A bunch of people. History. Flux was very closely coupled to that of Weave Cloud. Yes, Weave Cloud is Weaveworks' commercial product, and Flux can be used. It can be used without Weave Cloud. That's my motivation as well. I don't want to use Weave Cloud. I want to use Flux and make my own tooling. Community grew around Flux. Great. Integrations, great. All right. Get started with Flux. Introduction to Flux. FAQ, how it works. Standalone Flux, Flux using Helm. I don't use Helm, so I like my YAMLs pure and vanilla. Annotations, no. Operate Flux control, oh no, another CLI. So integrations, yeah. Okay, standalone Flux and introduction to Flux, those two look interesting. I've seen this. Varies something I can apply to the cluster. Get started with Flux. Shows a self-contained example of Flux and just takes a couple of minutes to get set up. Probably perfect for our case. Prerequisites. You will need to have a Kubernetes setup for a quick local test Minikube kubeadm. I would add K3s, which I'm going to use. Okay. GKE RBAC. We don't need RBAC. All right, I can do this. This is simple. I'm going to just make it visible. So where am I? Let's go to projects. And what about cloning Flux? Flux cloned. What's in here? Bunch of things. All right, so what's next? Now you can go ahead and edit Flux deployment manifest. At the very least, you will have to change the Git URL parameter to point to the config repository for workloads you want Flux to deploy. Got it. All right, so deploy Flux deployment. Deploy, Flux deployment, YAML. All right, no templating here, no variables. This is going to be easy. I like it. Just kubectl apply. That's how I roll. I don't use Helm. So I'm going to need a Git repository. It told me just a minute ago. So let's make a new repo, and that's going to be Fluxify me. No, that sounds very bad. Flux, to be fluxed. To be fluxed. I like that. All right, so let's create this repository and just clone this. How about opening another window here? Projects. And git clone. To be fluxed. cd to be fluxed. Good. Nothing in here, but that's not a problem. So back to the getting started doc. In our example, okay, so git URL. Where is git URL? Git URL. All right. this is my to be fluxed GitHub com Weave Flux Laszlo CPH to be fluxed master branch. I like when there are a bunch of comments here. This is useful. If you deployed memcached in a different namespace, okay, so I hope it can work without a memcached. I don't want to set up a memcached right now. All right, metrics, Prometheus, that's cool. What else is in here? Yeah, just usual stuff. It's a Go app, uses basically no resources, just how it should be. All right, what else? Okay, so there's a repo here which I could fork. Workloads, Helm, blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's just use our example. Git path. This is meant to exclude Helm manifests. Again, if you want to get started with Helm, please refer to the Helm section. No Helm, Git path should be just the root of the repo. So Git path. Include this if you want to restrict the manifest considered by Flux. All right, I want everything to be deployed. Okay, and I can apply Flux. All right, so I need a cluster, and I could have work in advance here, but let's just do K3S, which is Rancher's lightweight Kubernetes. All right, and I know there is a K3D, which is the Dockerized version. K3D, GitHub, Rancher K3D, little helper to run Rancher Labs K3S in Docker. So how about this? And I also, no, not this one. No, I remember something else. Let's just go to the K3S repository because it has a Docker Compose setup, which is pretty neat. So K3S is a Kubernetes distribution where all the unnecessary things were thrown out. So that's 5S smaller, 5 letters smaller than the real Kubernetes, and it's really small, really fast. It's not using Docker, for example, it's using containerd and all kinds of other things. It's basically, instead of Minikube, I tend to use this these days. So how about I take this and make a Docker Compose file here. Let's save this. Docker compose.yaml in the root. Yeah, in the root. So this is created, and if I do a docker ps now, I don't have anything running. That is perfect, and I will do a docker compose up. What's gonna happen here? Pulling a bunch of images, that's fine. Unauthorized. What? Okay, I fear this is Docker Hub wanting me to log in. So I'm going to just cut the recording here, and I'm going to continue just in a short while. All right, I'm back. I did authenticate to Docker Hub. It's kind of tricked me because it didn't be like that for a long time. I think this is a new thing from Docker, wanting me to authenticate even though I just want to pull images. But never mind. So where were we? I wanted to do a Docker Compose up. Docker Compose up in the Flux folder where there is our Compose YAML, pulling the images. This time it's successful, and starting a bunch of containers. Now it's going to take a few seconds, or more like half a minute, for K3S to start up. And let's see how it goes. It's gonna spit out a bunch of things which human beings shouldn't really read. It's about container networking and all kinds of internal resources of Kubernetes, but that shouldn't be a problem. But what's interesting is that it also gives a kubectl YAML, because in the Docker compose file we mount a volume where it places its own kubectl and then it maps out to the host machine. So I have it in the output, which is output. Where is output mounted? Yeah, there is a volume K3S server, and where is output? Oh yeah, so the current folder is mapped to /output, and then K3S is getting this parameter which tells it to put the kubectl YAML into the container path output/kubectl, and this file is actually the current folder. So that's pretty cool. So we have a kubectl YAML. We don't have to write it ourselves. It has the server address, the certificate, and everything, and password and username. So if provide this file to my kubectl, then I should be able to just regularly just query stuff. But how to provide it to kubectl? If I recall, there is this export kubeconfig path. So maybe if I search my bash, yeah, kubeconfig equals, let's give an absolute path, like to avoid any issues, project /flux and then /kubeconfig YAML. How about this? And if I do kubectl get nodes, yeah, so I have a worker which is running for 6 minutes. That is probably fine, and the version is this. So I suppose this is my Docker compose config. So kubectl get pods. Oh, come on, all names spaces. It has only a few pods. Traffic core DNS. Yeah, that is fine. I'm just gonna stop this for a moment and start it in the background just to not pollute my view. And if I do this and get the nodes again, it says ready, get the pods again. All right, this should be fine. So I could apply to this cluster. So back to the Flux tutorial, which was this one. Okay, I was stopping here where I should just apply the deploy folder, like everything in the deploy folder. That is my changes plus a bunch of other things, I suppose. Flux account, mem. Okay, so there is memcache that's going to be deployed automatically. Okay, I'm fine with that as long as I don't have to configure or set up anything. So how about I just apply as it told me to. kubectl apply, deploy. Exciting, bunch of things created. And how about I do a watch kubectl, oh, do an export here as well in this bash. Export, yep, okay, and then oh, watch kubectl get pods. All right, so in the default namespace, I have Flux and memcached running. Goodie, I think. So far, so good. Maybe just looking at the logs into Flux. Okay. Things I should not care about. All right, so next step. Allow some time for all containers to get up and running. If you are impatient, run the following command to see the pod creation process. Yeah, I just did that, great. Giving write access. At startup, Flux generates an SSH key and logs the public key. Flux CTL. So, okay, where do I get Flux CTL? Oh, Flux CTL. Give me a Flux CMD Flux CTL. So do I have this? Flux CMD? No, I don't. Just to be sure, CD CMD. Oh, I do have it. All right. So how about I just do CMD Flux CTL? Oh, it's a folder. It has a bunch of Go files without compilation. It's not good. Do I have a binary release somewhere? Flux releases. Nothing. Source code only. So how about download Flux CTL using deploy from command line. Installing Flux CTL, Ubuntu and others. Snap. I don't like this snap thing, never used it. Very easy if you use snap, of course. Okay, what the hell? It's a first. Sudo snap. Downloading. Okay, so this works. I should look up snap, what this is. Installed Weave Flux developers. All right, and then in the intro, when you're getting started, Flux CTL identity. All right, no clue what that does. Could not load Kubernetes configuration file. Error loading config file. Permission denied. How so? This file is root. Okay, so how about I make it chmod the world. Operation not permitted, that is fine. Could not load again. Permission denied again. How is that? Still root. Maybe I chown or chown to Laszlo Kubernetes CMO. And again, I'm sudoing identity. Why? Okay, for usage. Global flags. Global flags. One more time. What's wrong? So let's look at this Flux CTL. Could not load configuration file. Flux CTL. Okay, so this is related somehow to snap. Okay, so this snap might have a permission model that doesn't work with my custom setup. Oh, come on. This is just plain annoying. So, what does this even do? Okay, so this is getting an SSH key. Can I just install fluxctl somehow differently, or just compile this myself? So it's a Go mod, so how about Go build? Okay, modules are pulled in. Now this is probably not something everybody can do, only people having Go installed and knowing a little bit of Go. But yeah, okay, so can't load a package. So how do I do that? Go build cmd slash something, cmd fluxctl, cmd fluxctl. That's not a package, of course, but what's the main package here? How do I compile? Maybe the readme file helps me here. Okay, compile. Okay, how to build documentation. Make. Let's do make. Let's just peek into the make file. Make file. Build. Oh, it builds inside Docker. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, this is it when a project gets big with all kinds of things and it's just complicated. So I should have done install cmd slash fluxctl. I missed a dot, I think. That's how good of a goer I am. A gopher. Not so good. Should I just do it outside of the container? Oh, it is done. Let's just cancel this. I don't care about the rest. So supposedly now I have something in cmd, fluxctl, and it's a binary. Or maybe it's just in the root. Yes! Fluxctl. Identity. Alright. Not here, because it doesn't have my export set. So how about here? Identity. Like this. Booyah! Alright, so Snap wasn't able to access my YAML file, so I compiled fluxctl, and yes, I have the SSH key that I was supposed to get. Little detour. Okay, I don't care about this. Back to the getting started. Okay. So open GitHub, navigate to your fork, settings, deploy keys, add the deploy key, give it a title, check, allow, write, access, paste Flux. Okay, so Flux is going to write into my repository. Fair enough. We figure out if that's wanted or not. Settings, deploy keys, add a new deploy key. Title is Flux. And then copying this whole shebang. Okay, allow write access. It's gonna push something. Okay, I have a deploy key. Committing a small change. In this example, we are using a simple example of a web service. So I think my Flux deployment is checking the to-be-Flux repository, and it applies the configuration every 5 minutes. Now there is no configuration, so how about I'm going to make a very quick Kubernetes YAML. Maybe there is Kubernetes YAML nginx, just so I have something. This is probably okay. It's going to be a Kubernetes run command. No, it's not. All right, this is a deployment. I like this one. And I'm going to place this file into the to-be-fluxed folder. In the root, I'm going to create a service.yaml, enter. Deployment nginx to replicas. That is fine. And I'm going to push this. Git add everything. Git commit. Oh my god. Just a basic service. Okay. Git push origin master. And let's look into here. I'm going to just do a logs-f flux. No automated workloads. Polling images. Git repo not ready. Could not read from remote. Cloning into bare. Okay, so how this will access the repository? It was 5 minutes ago. Configure branch master. Okay, master branch. Pulling in. Okay, branch master does not exist. Where is the to-be-fluxed? This is the deploy keys. There is a master branch. There is a service YAML. And this one is going to poll 5 minutes. Now 5 minutes is a bit long for this demo to be swift and by our feedback. So maybe there's a 5 somewhere, or polling. Okay, how can I configure this? The default sync frequency is 5 minutes. Okay, so sync frequency, maybe sync. No, frequency default mode. All right, so flux change sync frequency git poll interval. Now that's very logical. Poll okay, so these are arguments with a very nice syntax. I like this one. Okay, because I can just add a new one. It's many lines and there can be comments. So that is pretty cool. I'm going to use this in my YAMLs as well. So the format was like this, right? Equals 5 seconds probably. Okay, so it's 1 second instead of 5, and I'm going to apply my deployment, the whole Flux. Deployment has changed. This one is exited. Get pods. The new Flux is running. Then logs to the new Flux. Okie dokie. Okay, something is refreshed. Okay, URL refreshed, component sync loop. Oh, I've said 1 sec. Okay, so this is pretty cool. It's gonna check it every second. Maybe it's too aggressive. Fine. I hope I don't hit any rate limit. I just do 5 seconds because... Wait, the default was 5 minutes or 5 seconds? 5 minutes, yeah, okay, so, but it's good to know that it can do a 1 second poll. I'm gonna make this to 5 seconds just to not hit any rate limits or anything. So how about this again? And then logging it again out. Flux. Oh, wait, did you see that? Did you see what I saw? How about watching, getting pods? Ah, it's exporting again and then watching. Look at this. This is brilliant. The nginx deployment is there. 73 seconds. It means it went to GitHub and it did deploy, just as it should. Awesome. So how about I make a change in the Fluxed repo, make it to 3 replicas. I'm gonna do git add dot git commit increasing replica count, and I'm pushing it. How fast it's gonna be? Pushed. Something in the logs. And it's there. All right. There is a feedback loop. It's fast. I'm liking this. Let's just observe the logs. So, loop event refreshed. Sync command apply with one thing. kubectl apply -f. I like that it's just bare bones apply. It's the nginx deployment. Sounds pretty good. And it's gonna just loop forever and applies everything I change in my Git repo. So the workflow, before I was running kubectl apply or just more sophisticated versions in bash scripts in my CI. In this, if I would use Flux, Flux would apply, so my CI would not need any credentials to Kubernetes. And I could do extra checks as well, maybe verifying signatures or some other things before application of the YAMLs. And the CI would just only make updates to this repository. All right, so what next? Because the basic workflow is done. It wasn't too painful besides the Flux CTL. So let's look at the getting started. Confirm the change landed. Yes, it did. Conclusion, as you can see, the actual steps to set up Flux, get are deployed, give Flux access to it, and see modifications land. All right, so Flux had access to the Kubernetes cluster because it's running inside it, and I suppose there are some RBAC rules in the deploy folder. Flux account, it's a service account with access to the world. Fair enough, for now at least. Memcached, I don't know, I don't care. Flux secret. This is probably the SSH key, and because I added the deploy key to GitHub to my repo, it's able to push. It's able to pull. I think it's only pulled. Okay, but why does it need write access? I'm not so sure about that, but it's able to pull at least. Well, granting access to GitHub and deploy keys, I'm not too familiar with. But it's something to look at maybe later. Okay, so the getting started guide is done. What's next? I could write a CI job that pushes to this repository. Yeah. So typically my CI does templating as well. So the YAMLs have variables inside, like this would be like $, rep leak account, and this would happen in the CI. So the CI would still do templating, and then it would just push it back to Git. So that is something to consider. And now, as I know, Flux is only able to handle a single repository, so it wants all your YAMLs to be in one repository. Now this is a matter of taste. My taste is a little bit different. I like to have the YAMLs in the repo, in the source code repository, so just next to the application code base, which is not too good for Flux or centralized operations, but I just like that developers see this or have the notion of this is what's need to be there for the deployment to work. So it's not hidden from developers, which is sometimes a problem, sometimes a benefit. All right, so maybe this deployment is able to handle more repositories, but it's probably just handles one. So maybe a Flux component per source code repo, or a Flux deployment for source code repo. This is something to check out as well, whether I'm able to use multiple repositories. And all right, let's just browse this Flux page just a little more. I looked at the getting started. This is still complicated, to be honest. Okay, so what does this Flux controller do? Flux CTL automate. Turn an automatic deployment. Turn on, turn off. Oh, that's fine. Okay, so if I'm concerned, I could just turn it off. Fine. Help, identity. All right, I get that. List images. Deployed and available images. What is an image? Why does it care about images? List images. Okay, so this talks to Docker Hub or something. Deployment Flux, memcached, Nginx deployment. Okay, so it knows about all the possible Nginx versions. It's cool, but I don't know why it needs that. I mean, shouldn't it just try to pull, and if it's succeed, then it's fine. If it's not, then it errors out. All right, so maybe there are some advanced workflows I don't know about. All right, what else? List workloads. List workload. Lock. Policies. Interesting. So what's a policy? Policy. Workload is required. Okay, so my my V is this one, and give me a policy. Too few arguments. Okay. kubectl annotate. Okay, so I can set policies. So okay, let's just see what does this do. Policy workload automate lock tag. Okay, so I could filter. All right, whatever. What else is in here? Just run flux ctl release. Okay. Why do I need to release if it deploys everything that is in Git? Okay, so what does... all... Can I just force a redeployment? Update all images. Why does it talk about images when I only provided a Git repo? No idea. Fluxctl release. Just I provided this here. Let's do a release. Expected no arguments. Don't argue with me. Release workload. Update image. Okay, so maybe I update the image version number here and then it pushes to GitHub. All right, I wouldn't want to do that, but it's worth a try to confirm that this is what it does. So it was the Nginx image. Here, version this one. And if I do 170, I'm sure there is one. And the workload was deployment default. Where did I list my deployments? Yeah, deployment. This was deployment. Permission denied. Because it's the well-known problem. Submitting release. Interesting. Does not exist. Okay, so how about list my images? 117 Alpine. I am releasing. Submitting a release. Commit pushed. Okay. And here is my rolling deployment, and it applied the commit. So this is interesting because I should see here a new commit with Weave Flux. Okay, that's fine. At least the commit message is fine. It fixed my problem, my error. Thank you, Weave Flux. All right, do I like this? Like, would I release from command line with fluxctl? Probably not. I mean, I want my CI to do all the things, and I don't really want to modify image tags. But fair enough. I know now why the write access was necessary. Maybe I would even just not tick that write access because I don't want this workflow, or at least I don't fully understand / embrace this one just yet. Let's see what else. Save cluster workload definitions in. So why again? I have a YAML that's supposedly, or it's supposed to capture everything, right? That's GitOps is for. What does it do? Save a workload. So how about I just do a save. Save. Unknown flag workload. It saved everything or what? Okay, it's gonna save everything. Out. -- out. Everything. No such file or directory. Does it have to be a folder? It did save a bunch of things. So default. Okay. Is this a disaster recovery / backup solution? I don't see the use case just yet. I understand this. Some people might requested this feature, but for me, the workflow is very one-directional. CI, Git repo, Flux is applying stuff. Flux shouldn't be too clever. It's not a problem that it tries to be clever because it doesn't interfere with my ideas, but it's definitely showing some further features which might complicate things later on. Sync. Okay, so I can force sync. All right, unlock. Can I just, let's just try a force sync. fluxctl sync. Oh, I always misspell this. Yeah, it's just, let's not wait for the poll interval. That's fair enough. Okay, so that's fluxctl. Are there any other features? Let's go back to Flux. I'm going to look at Helm because just let's see how it uses Helm. Using fluxctl, it's probably the thing we just discussed. Issues, annotations and locks, integrations. Yeah, whatever. Okay, so okay. Yes, you install Tiller, install Flux. Okay, giving write access. We just did that. Committing a small change because it's probably a Helm template. Maybe not, I don't know. Okay, so it's just how to install Flux with Helm. Yes, okay, so this Helm get started is not applying the deploy folder, but using Helm to install Flux. Okay, what is a workload? Viewing workload, inspecting, releasing a workload. What's the justification here? No justification, just a list. Fair enough. All right. I think we exhausted the flux control use case. Locks. Yeah, that's fine. Connecting to your git config, we did that. Driving flux. Tag. All right, so it feels to me that Flux is a neat little component that can apply configs from my Git repository. I think it's only as one central Git repository. That's something to address later. And then it just applies every change in that repo. I can force an application with fluxctl or lock this behavior. So if I identify a problem, I can just block deployments in Flux, or I can just block deployments for a certain workload. That's fine. Fluxctl also provides some workflows which I don't necessarily see something that I would use, which is changing images, forcing a release, so basically going around CI and just using Flux control, which then in return updates the Git repo, because GitOps, of course. Yeah, whatever. I like Flux for the central and core feature, and I might split my CI pipeline into two separate components. One side is CI, doing what CI is best at, running tests, maybe yeah, some other things, and then push it to the Git repo, and then using Flux to deploy. Basically what I would gain is that I don't need passwords or Kubernetes access in my CI workload, which is a win, because usually CI servers are big credential hogs. They want access to everything, which is kind of a problem, I think. Okay, so I can split my deployment from my CI. That's Flux is really good for that. Some management issues later on with the one repo versus many repo, which could be solved maybe with deploying many Flux components, many Flux instances for each repository, or maybe there's a feature in Flux, or maybe I can fork Flux and add this feature, or just upstream this feature. All right, this is not bad. Besides the little hurdles I had, nice little tool. I don't have anything else I'm curious about right now, maybe in a follow-up video, but for now I just wrap this up, and thanks for watching this, and yeah, take care, bye bye.